Everyone, I'm Flora, and you are watching an episode of Hey Flora. I have a question here from Tone, and they are asking, how do I avoid mud? So this is a great question because I know so many people have probably gotten to this territory where all of a sudden their colors are really muddy. And I actually, the very first class I ever taught when I first started teaching painting, about 2 hours in, I looked around and all of the canvases were brown. And that was a great learning moment for me because it made me realize I needed to come up with a way to help folks avoid making mud. And so how I do that, I try to keep it really simple so that we can all stay connected to freedom and flow and spontaneity, but to have this sort of easy way to work within layering our colors to avoid making mud. So if you're new to painting especially, and colors might feel really overwhelming, what you can do is divide your warmer colors, which are the reds, the oranges, the yellows, from your cooler colors, which are, like, for the simplicity sake of this conversation, let's just say those are the blues and the greens. So when you start your first layer, choose either a warm colors or cool colors. Let that layer dry. That's the really important thing, because when we start to mix the warms and the cools, when they're both wet, that's when your colors turn to mud. And so do a layer of, say, cools, let it dry, come back with your next layer of warms, let that dry, and then continue your layering process that way. The purples, magentas, pinks, that whole delicious family, I tend to, with beginning painters, just say let that be its own layer, because the purples can be a little bit tricky. They can be muddy with warms or cools depending on the colors you're mixing them with. So you might let your layer dry, come in with a layer of purples. You can also do that with a layer of, say, dark colors or light colors, but kind of keep this conscious division of warms, cools, purples, lights, and darks, and just build up your painting in that way, and you're going to create a really vibrant color story that way. Another just thing to remember is that really what it comes down to is avoiding mixing complementary colors. And so what's a complementary color? They are any two colors opposite each other on the color wheel. So that's going to be red and green, yellow and purple, and blue and orange. So even that probably feels like a little overwhelming to remember. So that's a good thing to kind of put in your mind, but also just, simplify everything by thinking of them as the warms, the cools, the purples, the darks, and the lights. And then just have fun. Every layer can, be whatever you want it to be. You can add images or marks, turn your canvas upside down, all the things we do in Brave Intuitive Painting. But if you stick with that layering and separation, you will avoid mud. One last thing I want to add to that is to be really conscious of your brushes, because if you're using a cool brush and you dip that into your warm colors, then right there they're going to be making mud right on your brush when you start to mix those onto the canvas. So you'll want, along with the separation of the colors and the layers, you also want a warm brush, a cool brush, a purple brush, a light brush, and a dark brush. And just kind of keep those in order, and you should be well on your way to creating vibrant, colorful, non-muddy paintings. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.